everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Today I thought we'd do a Pink and Main unboxing of the sweater weather courtyard kit. Have this really sped up because I like to watch these, but I don't like them to drag on. And this is a long video already. I think it's like 28 minutes. So you can see here I'm showing all of the things that came in the kit. You get a better look at most of them as we make the cards, but here's all the stuff that was in there. Lots of fun things to play with. So the first card, I pulled out my Misty, and I had these circles already die cut off screen, and I chose to follow some sketches that Pink and Main has in their courtyard group. Makes for easy cards. I love using sketches. So what I did there is I stuck some ATG adhesive down. I thought maybe it would help my stuff stick and it would be easy to work with. In the end, that's a bad idea. I mean, it didn't hurt anything, but it was sticky, and I had to get the sticky off of there later. And it peeled up on those first four, so it didn't help me with any of the other ones. So I used VersaFine ink here. It is black, but I am heat embossing in gold, so it's not really a big deal. The ink stays wet enough for the embossing powder to stick, so it works just fine. And then I just heat set them all. Embossing powder is just like really finely ground plastic, so something like a heat gun can melt it. And I heard there's some really good heat guns on the market. This is, I don't know, Stampendous or something. So here is the sweater weather paper that I chose to use. See, I had to get all that sticky off them circles. That was just dumb. Don't do that. And then I decided I was going to use my colored pencils. Ooh, you hear my cat. I picked some fall colors, a couple of reds, a purple, some greens, some yellows, orange. I thought I could color these to look like fall leaves. I used the blender pencil. And to be honest, after I was done with all of these cards, this happens to be my favorite. I don't know why. I like them all, but this one this one turns out to be my favorite. I think it's just the way that the composition is and all the bright colors, and I don't know. I really don't know. I'd love to know what your favorite is at the end. So as I was discussing, this is a really long video, and well, maybe you don't know, but you can speed up the videos. Videos like this, sometimes I speed them up. I don't always have a half hour to sit and watch somebody else make cards. So I did speed this up a lot because it was a lot of video. But I wanted to leave in, well, everything that I like watching. And even if I don't have a giant audience, I like watching videos, and I want to make videos that I would want to watch. So anyway, since we're sitting here for a half hour or so, I thought maybe we could get to know each other just a little bit. I have been making cards for a long time, like a seriously long time. I started out as a scrapbooker, and I made scrapbooks from about 1997 till about 2003. And then I found card making. And not that I think scrapbooking is not fun, or not that it's not enjoyable, but I found that I had to explain. What do you need, cat? I had to explain the scrapbook to people, and that made me not want to scrapbook all the time. Cards were easy. I could send a card, and you would know exactly what I was talking about when I sent the card. So here, back to the card, I am lining up these pieces. These did not get lined up straight. I don't know why I'm fooling myself with a ruler, but I tried. I used this metal ruler. It has like that non-skid bottom to it, so at least it was heavy enough to stay in place, but I'm pretty sure that these up on top are not straight. So I just trimmed them off, and I chose to heat emboss my sentiment with gold on this burgundy cardstock here. I used the VersaFine Onyx Black ink and the gold heat emboss or the gold embossing powder, and I did the same thing. See, you can't see the black underneath there. Anyway, back to me making cards. So I found that I really more so enjoyed making cards because it was like instant gratification. I could complete a little project. Um, I didn't have to be super good at anything in particular, like this colored pencils here. I'm not great at colored pencils, but I try, and they're tiny images, so you didn't need a ton of shading or anything like that. And when a person received it, I knew that they were going to like it, or at least I hoped that they were going to like it. I figure when you receive mail that is not a bill, um, usually that brings a smile to your face. So that is why I started to make cards. And I dabbled in card making from 2003 until about 2013. So about 10 years of just playing around making cards. In the late 2013, my husband and I had a daughter. She was born at 34 weeks and 2 days. She was born in complete heart failure, and she was transferred to a local children's hospital in a NICU, and they took her to the cath lab to perform a fairly routine surgery. During this routine surgery, her heart was perforated, and she ended up on a machine called ECMO. The ECMO machine is like a heart and lung machine, and it kept her alive for 10 days. At 10 days, it's like too much for the body. So usually there's a stroke or something like that that causes the person on ECMO not to survive. And she had had a lot of CPR, several minutes of CPR in her little life, approximately 45 minutes in a couple of different sessions. So we had some testing done to see if she had any brain activity, and that was minimal. And we were coming up on that 10-day mark for ECMO, and my husband and I made the decision to take her off life support. That was that was November 1st, 2013. Our daughter's name is Delaney Jane, which is where my card company name comes from, where my blog name comes from, where my YouTube channel comes from. I had made some promises to her to honor her, to speak her name every single day, and to make her proud. And this little bit of crafting has helped me keep my promise. I can send cards. They make people happy. They spread joy. By naming this little card company Delaney Jane Cards, I get to say her name every single day. And by doing the things that I do, I think I'm making her proud. So I talked through that card there, but I used a peekaboo die to cut those 3 windows and some colored inks to stamp the heart-shaped knitted stamp, and I just put that one together. It was very simple. Here I'm using some orange ink to stamp these leaves, and they were not all the way clean, so they didn't stamp all the way orange, which was fine. So I did the same colored pencils here on these ones. I really like the colored pencils on the leaves. I think you can get just a beautiful blend. So back to me, I guess, and getting to know me a little bit more. So in 2014, the beginning of 2014. Well, let's back up a little. 2013, for Christmas, I bought myself a set of Copics. The 72 Copics. It was on sale. I think I even used a coupon, and it was a really hard decision for me, but I knew that I needed something to help me stay busy. And coloring is really good for anxiety and depression and all of the things. You lose yourself in all of the coloring and the shading, and that's what I did. I really put myself into it. I made cards for a local veterans home here, for Christmas for every single resident. And then I made all of the thank you cards for Delaney's funeral. And I made all of our Christmas cards that year. And I think between the middle of November and the beginning of, well, in the end of December, I made close to 1,000 cards just staying busy. And then I was lost. I didn't have a project. I didn't know what to do. So I found Operation Right Home, and which is no longer in operation, which is sort of sad, but sort of good. And I made and donated a bunch of cards for there. And then again, I was lost again. I didn't know how to keep making cards. I mean, how do you make hundreds of cards to stay busy and have nowhere to put them? Back to this card here. I used this, I think it's Desert Storm cardstock, and I had cut out a banner for one of the other cards, and I just cut out another banner for this one, and it's what I end up matting this whole card on. Um, anyway, so I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do with my time, and I knew I loved making cards and coloring, and I wanted to make sure that I could keep doing that because it was keeping me out of therapy. It was keeping me from being stuck in my grief. Um, so I needed to keep doing that. And a friend had a spot at a local craft fair that she was not going to be able to make. So I decided that I was going to do this. I was going to sit down and make enough cards to take to a craft fair. And I did. I made probably 200 cards. And I mean, with what I had, and it was what I could do. It was good. So I went to that craft fair, and I didn't do bad. I sold some, and I remember very much undervaluing what I had to bring to the table. I think I was trying to sell cards for $2, and it got my name out there, and it was this place that we could talk about Delaney as much or as little as we wanted. So that was, I think that was in 2014 where I went to my first craft show with cards. It was good for me. It was really enlightening, and what it did was gave me a lot more purpose to these promises that I had made. So here, back to this card, I did use all pattern paper for this. I did use the stencil that came in the kit and some distress inks, and I went over it lightly in the background just for some additional interest. So at that craft fair, I didn't do bad. I sold quite a few cards, and I was invited to another craft fair. And I mean, that's kind of a win, right? You have this product, and somebody else wants to sell it at their thing, and so it kind of grew. And then in 2014, the end of 2014, we did an angelversary celebration for Delaney. The day before, I found out I was pregnant with our now 4-year-old, and that consumed my world. Going from having just lost a baby to Being pregnant with another baby, it it was hard on me. My anxiety, it was bad. But I kept coloring. I kept making cards, and it my business, as so to say, didn't grow, but it stayed steady. I kept plugging along, making cards, and he was born in the middle of 2015, and I just kept plugging along, not to pay lots of bills, but to be happy. And so I have done the same craft fair at this one school since 2015. I participated in a Christmas craft fair, so I did that one, and it felt really good. I had more cards, I had more inventory. I I loved it. So, things just kind of held steady. And then 2017, we were blessed with yet another little boy. Oh, here, I did not use my Copics on that. I used an old Tombow marker and then this Nouveau glitter pen to kind of fill it in. Didn't work so well on the Nina. I think it would have worked better on like Bristol Smooth, but I hadn't thought ahead enough. So 2017, we were blessed with yet another boy, and I kept making cards. And my husband, at this time, I am overwhelmed with life. I have a toddler and a newborn who is not sleeping, and he had just lost his job and had started a new job making less money, and you know how stressful that is. And he had this bright idea that we open a card shop, an online, always open card shop. And I was just absolutely overwhelmed, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Oh, anyway, my husband decided that we should open a online card store. And you know, I said, why not? So we opened Delaney Jane Cards on Etsy in 2017. And my goal has always been to make really quality cards that people want to send. Um, my goal has been to make Delaney a household name. My goal has been to be proud of what I make and sell. I still do craft fairs. I love them. I don't do as many anymore because we have been yet again blessed with another baby. Her name is Adelaide. She is now almost 5 months old. And she is the last one. You don't even have to ask in the comments. She's it. There's no more. Um, she is collectively number 8, so we don't need any more. Um, so we have reduced the number of craft fairs that we have done, but we are still on Etsy, and we are at DelaneyJaneCards.com. We have over 600 cards in our store currently. So back to the cards here. I stamped this one here with the orange on the top and brown on the bottom. I wanted kind of a two-tone effect. I think I got too dark of a brown, but it was fine. And then these papers are really pretty. They just sometimes when all of the papers in a pack are pattern, I have a hard time, but at least the one side of them is more of a solid. So anyway, we still have our store. It's still um, it's still open 24 hours. My goal is 1,000 cards in the store, and every time I think I'm gonna get there, somebody puts in a big order, and It makes me smile, and we get further away from 1,000 cards, and it is fine. Um, so, I mean, just a plug here if you decide you want to go check out the store, it is DelaneyJaneCards.com. I dry embossed that stencil on this banner here. Um, it's another really cool way to use a stencil. Just followed my machine's like sandwich recipe, is it recipe thing for embossing, and it worked out just fine. I think I had to add a paper shim just to make sure I got it nice and embossed there. Just a little bit of subtle texture. And then I used the twine, which I never ever use, to put a bow on this sentiment here. And I used these sequins again. I need to do like Christy Marcotte does and just put them in a little Tupperware, because after every card here I put them back, and then at the end I dumped them back out, and then I had to pick them up again, which it's fine, but it's just stuff I don't need to be doing. I have too many people to take care of to be putting sequins back all the time. So I did not tell my story to get sympathy. What I told my story for was to get understanding. I want to spread infant loss awareness. I want to spread joy. Every year between 10/22 and 11/1, we do something called the Delaney Project. It is 10 days of random acts of kindness. And we are by far not rich. So free is what we usually stick to. So opening doors, passing out quarters at Aldi's for people to use the carts, popcorn by the red box machine, just kind things, $10 gift cards, whatever we can do, whatever we can afford, we try to do. You are more than welcome to participate or not participate. You can find that on Facebook at the DelaneyProject.com, or it's probably not .com, but you can find it on Facebook at the Delaney Project. So back to these kits, I think after shipping I pay right about $42. And in my store I sell my cards for $6. So for the card kit to be economical for me, I need to make at least 7 cards. So I made 7 cards with this kit. I have tons of stuff left over, and I can make a ton more, but I always aim to make at least that $42 mark when it comes to cards. I love that everything coordinates. Usually I don't use colored cardstock, and I find with these kits I stretch myself a little more. I use the colored cardstock. I don't reach for the black. I pull out stuff that I haven't used in forever, like colored inks, or I use twine or brads even. I'm like, oh my gosh, brads, are those still a thing? I really find that I stretch my style. And that being said, having a card shop versus just creating cards for people I know, I do have a style. It's like clean and layered, but I do find that I'm less about my style and more about trying other styles, because I'm not making cards for me, I'm making cards for other people. So that makes a difference in how I look at things and what I'm willing to try or not try. It also makes a difference on how I assemble my cards. I do not want to send something that has a potential of falling apart or getting damaged in the mail. I also don't make my cards thick and bulky because if somebody is spending the time and the money to pick out and purchase a handmade card, I do not want them to have to pay extra for postage if they're sending it. So those are some things that I really look at when I'm making cards. Um, I know other people, they make all the layers and all the things, and those are gorgeous cards. I just, to fit in the parameters that I have provided myself, I don't make those. If I am giving a card to someone, which rarely happens, I find that I don't really have time to make cards for people in my own life. But if I do, a lot of times they are thicker and more mm, I- intricate. I don't know. There's a lot more stuff on them sometimes because I'm just handing it to somebody. I am curious what your card style is. Do you have a card style? Do you get card kits? Do you do you make enough cards to make it worth it for you? So I did a lot of talking in this video and talked through a lot of the steps. So if there's anything you have questions on, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I would like to know, what was your favorite card, favorite technique, um, and I'd like to know a little bit more about you because you matter to me. I would love to build a little community um, where everybody is being supported by everyone else. So you'll see some still shots here at the end of each of the cards that I made. And then you will also see another video on the screen where you can continue to watching if you'd like to. And I really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much, and you have a great day.